What is up, you crazy gun nuts? My name is Blake and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the history of Russian weapons. About 56 years worth, just in that short amount of time from 1891 to 1947. So the gun that I'm going to start off with is the Mosin Nagant, but it's not going to be the 9130 like you're thinking, even though it's the shorter version of it, which is what I have to go off of. So this is the Mosin Nagant, developed in 1891 by Russian Captain Sergei Mosin and designed by Leon Nagant. Now at the time, before this weapon was made, around 1877 to 1878, Russia was having a pretty big war with the Ottoman Empire. They needed a better rifle to take on a different enemy. Well, that's where Sergei Mosin comes in, and he designs this. So this gun was pretty much used all throughout World War I and then World War II. So this thing shoots a massive 7.62 by 54 rimmed, which is still in common use today. This thing does have a 5-round integral magazine. It is a bolt action rifle, but with this gun specifically, even though it's not a normal Mosin Nagant, since it would be longer, this is called an M38. Obviously developed in 1938. So during World War II, there was a pretty big need for Russian artillerymen to have a shorter rifle, considering that this rifle was a lot bigger and came out to about here. So this is a lot of space to be chopped off. So this was, I would guess, easier to maneuver around. I couldn't find a whole lot of detail on why this was used, but I'm gonna go off of that. So the Mosin Nagants, they're pretty common. Like the 9130s, you can find them almost anywhere, but these are pretty limited in numbers. Only 2.4 million were ever made, and a lot of them, because after this gun came the M44, and a lot of the stocks fit this gun. And just to save on production costs and time, rather than building an entirely new gun that has a bayonet, they just swapped out the entire stock for an M44 to fit the M38. And mine just so happens to have that cutout for a bayonet, even though this cannot take it, which was actually intended for. But these were still pretty common in World War II, but again, in World War II, you're already going up against machine guns, you're going up against the MP40, the Thompson submachine gun, the Maxim. You're going up against a whole bunch more weapons that have a bigger magazine capacity or belt capacity than 5 rounds. So not only was the Russian military looking to replace this weapon, the rounds per minute it usually had was anywhere from 6 to 8 rounds per minute. So by our current standards, that's pretty slow. At the time, before all the machine guns came around, this was pretty top notch. But by World War II, when you had all these automatic weapons and other semi-automatics that were dumping hundreds of rounds at the time, this gun couldn't really compete with that. Which is why we moved to our next gun, the SKS-45 Simonov, which was developed by Sergei Simonov, as you can tell. Now this one, unfortunately, I don't have a Russian version. So the Mosin Nagant that I have, it's the only actual Russian gun that I do own. This gun and then the next gun that I'm sure you can guess, they're not Russian, but the design is Russian, and that's what I'm getting at with this video. So this, obviously, was developed in 1945, and as you can see, it bears some similarities to the AK-47, which came later. So the Russians were already looking to replace their old Mosin Nagants, and that's where this rifle comes in. The rounds per minute it can usually dump was now at 30 to 40 rounds a minute. So instead of having a 5-round integral magazine, you now had a 10-round integral magazine. You can still feed with stripper clips, which is always great. So already this is a pretty big advantage, and also because they're Russia, they got the bayonet. But like I said, this isn't a Russian gun. This one is the Norinco Chinese version. So The Russian SKSs, they would actually have a blade underneath, not a tri-blade, like this one. So instead of the SKS shooting the pretty big 7.62x54R, they decided to scale it down to the 7.62x39 that we all know and love today. And because of that, they can also have more ammunition to carry as well, and it had less recoil than the Mosin did. So I mean, already there's pretty big advantages to the SKS. How well it was liked, I don't really know. Can't really ask a Soviet that. So it's already a pretty big improvement from what they were currently using, something that was just getting ready to come out, and it's still in the prototype phase. And a lot of countries actually adopted the SKS platform. So the SKS at the time, just because of its short lifespan, because of the next gun that's coming up in the video, it lived only in the Russian military for about 7 years or so. But it's still in use, kind of like what our military uses. We still use the M1 Garands for ceremonial stuff. That's what the SKS is kind of still used for today, for ceremonies and other junk like that. But a lot of countries adopted the SKS because of how well it performed. You could also argue the fact that the AK-47 is less reliable when it comes to accuracy, because the SKS, in a few trials, was proven to be more accurate than its predecessor. That's going to start a shitstorm. Now, with that being said, that the SKS lived in Russian use for about 7 years, other countries did adopt it, such as Yugoslavia, Egypt, East Germany, North Korea, China. So with that being said, like I said, it only lived in the Russian military for about 7 years, and then went on to the predecessor that overtook it by a mile, which, oddly enough, the SKS was a plan B, if you will, in case the AK-47 was not favored. I'm pretty sure it was favored. And then, like I said, the one that I have is a Chinese variant, and the Chinese SKSs actually lived to be in use in the military for an additional 25 years for the CCP. And of course, with all that being said, moving into the Cold War era, we come to 1947. We come to the world's most famous firearm platform, the AK-47, developed by the saint himself, Mikhail Kalashnikov. Around the end of the Cold War, there was a pretty big arms race to try and make the next best weapon for Russia. And well, Mikhail Kalashnikov pretty much won that, with millions of these things being made, dozens of countries adopting them, some bad, but overall it is a great weapon. It's extremely durable, and not only to that, this weapon was much cheaper to build, and it was more cost effective, made out of just stamped regular sheet metal. And not only to that, it was also easy to maintain. So the old ones, they would have a little hole here to clean everything, which is why you have, well, I don't have one, but you see a lot of AK-47s, kind of like what my SKS has, they come with a cleaning rod. So you could self-clean it with very little maintenance to it. But also, of course, you still got to shoot the 7.62x39 cartridge, a cartridge that they were well fond of. But not only to that, with the SKS, you were only able to fire in semi-automatic mode. Well, this, unfortunately, is not a full auto. I wish. The rate of fire was anywhere from 400 to 600 rounds a minute. Compare that to the last two guns, it went skyrocketing. So I'm pretty sure the Russians were well fond of this. On a little side note, this mag is an original Russian Bakelite mag that the Type 1, Type 2s, and Type 3 AK-47s would have fired out of. So this is like the early version of polymer from what we have today. And the thing is, this weapon has ran so good. This is a Cold War era weapon system, and a lot of countries are still using this weapon system today. They've advanced it. There's a lot of differences that this weapon has, this version of the AKM. So this system has actually ran pretty well. So well that the Russian military is still using this system today. Granted, they've got other weapons like the AK-107, which is just a more tactical, refined version like this. But unfortunately, in 1997, Mikhail Kalashnikov did write a letter saying that he actually regrets this weapon. He regrets it because of all the people that it's actually killed. Now keep in mind, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Obviously these, all three of them over here, are not loaded, but if they were, they can't kill me. It's just all the stuff that happened with the AK-47. When Russia went to war with Syria, a lot of the AK-47s over there got dumped off. Well, I'm pretty sure the last 20 years, we know who picked those up. Ultimately, Mikhail Kalashnikov felt responsible for the millions of deaths that this gun or weapon system unfortunately brought. But he felt responsible over the lives that this gun has taken. Not because of his genius or anything, which he was a great man. Credit where credit's due. He was a fantastic weapon designer. It's more or less just the fact that all the politics get into it and the terrorist organizations. Because when it comes down to it, the AK-47 is more reliable and more durable than an AR. I'm a big AR guy. I'm sorry, I'm willing to say it. But it is. That's why a lot of countries are able to use it. In Grantham's video test, the AK-47 prevailed. Or the AK weapon system prevailed. But that's it. That's just a little video that I wanted to do. Over 56 years of Russian weapon history. Like I said, from 1891 to 1945. The very beginning of your life, you would have seen a weapon that could only fire anywhere from 6 to 8 rounds a minute, to now firing 400 to 600 rounds a minute. That's insane. I hope you guys really liked this video. I did a lot of research into it, a lot of stuff I actually didn't know. And plus, I got to show off a little gun that I got, which I've got another video planned. I hope to get it out. Don't hold your breath on it. But if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out, really gets my content out there. And like I said, if I got anything wrong, please let me know in the comments. And who knows, maybe I'll do one about the AR-15 and the M16. Or just whatever other guns that I'll get. I'll do like a little historical breakdown video. Kind of like this one. But until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.